back, girl. You back, man. No,
be Commissioner Gordon. I mean, don't be Robin. You don't.
No, Robin ain't gonna cut it.
No, you can be Alfred.
The butler?
He's a badass butler.
You're like,
we've come too far. You could have just sent us all to Wakanda. We wouldn't have these problems. First of all, you're in DC universe instead of in Marvel, but
I know.
It's all
I'm just trying to change it up a little bit. Okay, let's switch this whole thing around. We're gonna do Marvel then.
Stan Lee was always an anti-racist. I saw an article about that today. I actually got to see him speak at a library conference before, like a couple of years before he died. That was kind of cool. I don't know who I would be in the Marvel universe though. I haven't really, I don't know. Sometimes Storm, even though I'm not dark enough to be Storm. I stand by that though. I think Hallie was okay for that time period, but we should have learned by now. We don't need another person that can pass the brown paper bag test playing Storm. She was decidedly melanated. She was dark skinned.
So what you think about Beyonce playing Storm?
That's what I'm saying. One, she can't act, and two, she's not dark enough. I love B. I love her. I think she has a lot of talents. Acting is not one of them. I think that she is a legendary performer. I think that she's an iconic performer. Acting getting there. Cher won an Oscar. That doesn't mean Beyonce can win an Oscar.
True.
And she will join the ranks of, when it comes to performance, Cher, Madonna, for sure.
Well, who's gonna be Storm?
I don't know. I really don't know who could do it. But somebody dark.
I was just about to say Angela Bassett, maybe.
She already played his mama.
Oh, damn.
How's she gonna play Storm?
The same way Ryan Reynolds played Deadpool and Green.
No, because we're literally in because we're all in this actual MCU timeline.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can't jump out of the timeline and back in. Well, this is starting off really interesting, isn't it?
Very.
You never know around here. What you talking about? Hey, how you doing? This is Ryan. I'm Jeff. What's your name?
Well, I knew it wouldn't be like that, but I'm like, so what are we gonna get into here? Like you said, well, I'm gonna be easy on you. I'm like, okay. Comic books. Let's talk comic books.
What about if I told you that I lied?
I can handle it.
That's just
I feel like at this point, just always be ready, for whatever is coming.
yeah. Typically it.
True enough. So how your day been anyway?
Oh, no, it's been a pretty good day. I've been busy morning, then I got a pedicure, a few more phone calls and some emails, and now I'm here with y'all. Actually, the most stressful thing was trying to figure out what to wear to come talk to y'all today.
Oh,
And I still messed up because I put on something that makes it hard to wear a microphone. But I didn't think that part through.
looks fine.
I mean, it works, but logistically, it's not the aesthetic, it's the logistics of it, because but it's fun, it's all working. But if you're gonna fret about what you're wearing, at least get the logistics right too. I didn't do that, so.
Hey, you adjusted on the fly. It worked.
It worked.
Born and raised in Shreveport?
Yes, born and raised, let's see. My parents got married, their first house was on Frederick Street in Queensboro, then they moved to Western Hills when I was like 3 or 4, stayed there until high school, moved to Keithville. I went to Centenary. After Centenary, I went to California and came back after about 4.5 years.
Which part of California?
San Francisco, 23rd and Bryant in the Mission.
Okay,
Yeah.
Bay Area.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I visit there a lot.
It was different. I've been back to visit since then, and it's not the same. That would have been 2000 till the end of 2004, I guess. It's not the same. It's way more expensive. The oligarchy have pretty much taken over. All your tech millionaires. It's just not the same kind of a city. It's super expensive. And a lot of the culture that made it special is kind of gone. So, but we can say that about a lot of cities right now.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Like, go 5 hours from here, you can have the same story. 5 hours going south, southeast, or going south, southwest, Austin or New Orleans, the same story.
Right. Right. What, high school?
Magnet. Caddo Magnet High.
Yeah.
Class of 95.
95.
Okay. That's what's up. So when did you first start thinking about getting into the political realm?
That's a weird question. My dad, do you remember Family Ties with Alex Keaton?
Right.
I was that kid, but where he was very much the Republican version with the little Nixon lunchbox. I was like the Democratic version of that. Like, I grew up with parents that were always talking politics, and my background is in dance and theater, but my dad would have liked for me to have gone to law school. So it was always kind of there, but as far as the here and now of being in this position, it kind of slowly started over coming back from California, having an interest in seeing the city improve, understanding enough about like gentrification, historic preservation, looking at your core communities. I started off with Historic Preservation Society on their board when I first moved back, and realized that what I really care about is land use policy. I did 1.5 years on the MPC board, and when that ended, my passion about community improvement didn't stop, and I'd pretty much done all I could as a private citizen, so it just kind of came about that here I am. Ran for office, won the seat. I mean, there's more to it than that, but that's the condensed version. But I go off on tangents really bad when I'm talking about it, so I'm trying to give you the short version.
Gotcha.
You know?
Gotcha.
So we talked about your family and politics and how you got involved. Let's talk about what is, when you said I'm going to take this seat. What's going to be my impact? What am I going to do?
What am I going to do?
To impact Shreveport, to change Shreveport.
Equity in neighborhoods is really it for me. Every neighborhood deserves to be thriving and vibrant, and a lot of that comes down to the land use policies and the way we implement them. And it doesn't cure everything, but if you look at how we have, as a society, as a country, used policies to basically put our thumb on people. I'm kind of keen on the phrase putting a boot on somebody's neck, but I'm triggered when I say that now.
Yeah.
It was different when it was Malcolm X saying it. It's not the same, you know. But when we've used policies and laws on redlining, home ownership, zoning, what can go where, to basically make some people miserable while some people prosper. So for me, having a better understanding of that and how to create equity from one neighborhood to the next so that everyone's neighborhood has a chance to thrive, that's the number one thing for me. And people say, people are like, well, it's always education and safety and economics, right? Well, if you have enough knowledge in one thing and how it impacts all those other things, you can fill in those gaps because it's all a cycle. So for me, it really is, you should be able to walk out of your door and down your street and feel good in any neighborhood, no matter how much money you have. You shouldn't, the houses might be smaller, there might be more apartments, but there should still be trees, there should still be good roads, there should still be safety, sidewalks, a good atmosphere, regardless of how much wealth you actually have.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's the thing for me. And that's something I've noticed in bigger cities compared to a place like this.
Well, being that you said that, and you think about Shreveport, and you think about our urban communities, and you think about the streets, and you think about the housing condition, and you think about the economic situation that we're in currently, even before the COVID.
Yeah.
How can we impact change with everything going the way it is?
Yeah.
And this is going to be kind of a twist. How can you impact change with not everybody wanting change?
With not everyone wanting change, I want that part right there, because that's just how we live, right? Status quo is benefiting somebody. Like leaving things the way they are, some people are going to always be comfortable with that. But I think that a true public servant has to always recognize that just because one group of people are okay with status quo, if the vast majority is hurting, your responsibility is to alleviate that hurt, right? I read a book recently called How to Kill a City, and it's about gentrification and its impact on cities. And I read a lot about land use, right? We are the middle of the city, the inner city, the core communities subsidize the suburbs.
True.
Stop doing that. Cut them off.
Well,
Cut them off.
well, part of that,
The tax base.
it's the tax base. That's one thing. Secondly, we've been taught differently. We feel that this is right and this is not, and you should take care of this and not take care of that. So a lot of times in our communities, we don't get that love and that care and that affection that's needed in our
Let's rewind
neighborhoods.
to the first thing you asked me is you grew up in Shreveport. So yeah, Frederick Street.
Yeah,
My parents did what everybody's parents did. Okay, they're a police officer and a teacher with one kid. That means that they can maximize that income on that one kid, right? So they move out to the suburbs off Pines Road because that's where everybody was.
Yep.
It's safer, it's cleaner, it's nicer, and it's what you're supposed to do. What if we actually had fought for our neighborhoods instead of building out into sprawl, build up? Why not add a second story on that house right there in the neighborhood? What would Queensboro look like right now if people hadn't abandoned it?
it would actually probably be an awesome neighborhood.
It would be like a Harlem or a Brooklyn, right?
That's true. But the other side is that, and I brought this up several times, different public officials, is that we don't have a minority program in place to truly help develop small businesses. We have different things that we say we want to do, but I mentioned some things that was just minute. I said, what if we took $1 million, divided up in 10? You start 10 new businesses every year for the next 5 years. But each one of these businesses have a criteria that we won't have but one barbershop. We won't have but one clothing shop. Something has to go into agriculture. Something has to go into science. Something has to go into the medical field. So you branch it out so you can make sure.
You diversify your revenue streams.
Exactly.
Well,
Why can't something like that happen in
but
Shreveport?
whose money? Whose money is it?
The city could do it.
That's your problem right there. Because if the government invests in it, then the government still owns it and the government still has some say in what happens. And
Well-
even if they don't, the fact that you took the money from the government, when the government starts jacking everything up, you are basically pigeonholed and muzzled into not saying anything about it because they've already put an interest on you.
That's true.
And now they've got that control.
That's true. But if you put things in place right, if somebody really want to do business the correct way, and the city says, hey, we're going to put you in this program, we're going to make sure you have the funds, we're going to make sure that everything goes the way it's supposed to for the first this many years.
I would genuinely prefer for the city to not have anything to do with it.
So you think we should find private
It should
funding?
be private investment.
But-
And the thing is, what I like that you're saying is the smaller amounts of money to go into stuff. Read about Monty Anderson out of Duncanville, Texas, incremental development. The whole thing with incremental development being that you start off small. You notice how I'm sorry, I'm going on a tangent. Okay, I'm not sorry, I'm going on a tangent. You know how in Shreveport, everything has to be built to 100% or we don't want anything to do with it?
That's right.
And we always make the 100% probably too small and then we're not satisfied with what we have.
Yes.
What if you quit waiting on everything to be at 100%? What if you literally just start with what's in front of you and start your business from your bootstraps? Small investment, small angel investment, small amount of capital as a loan, whatever it is, but under 40%. That way you always have the majority share of your company. What happens a lot of times when you've got angel investors and startup money or whatever, they get that 51% of your company and you never get out of it, right?
That's true.
That ends up suffocating and strangling a lot of people with some really big ideas. Well, what if you are doing the incremental style where you start out of like where we are right now, you start out at Office Hub, you're sharing space until you've got enough going on into that you need a bigger space. I would rather see even a smaller amount of money than the 10 million or 1 million that you mentioned before. What if someone's got $500,000 to give out to the first 25 amazing ideas one per genre as
Gotcha.
startup funding. And that seed money gets you where you need to get to actually make whatever your idea is more sophisticated to attract more angel investment if that's the route you want to go, or just to get on the street, just to get, boots on the ground and doing what you want to do. Like right now, why are we waiting for downtown to have a grocery store? We could have proven twice a year for the last 10 years that we needed a grocery store down here if we wanted to.
Yes.
You don't need a luxury Whole Foods. You need a few baskets of fruit, and a cooler full of like lunch meat and salsa. But we want to have everything done to 100% on day one.
That's true. That's true. Well, I think that a lot of citizens look for city involvement when it comes to any form of economic development, economic growth. And I'm going to shift gears just a little bit here. We have not had any new large growth in years. We've lost thousands of jobs in the last 5 to 6 years. Thousands.
Right, and to
So-
some degree that might be the government's fault.
Part.
As much that actually, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I've been talking about this a lot. I was told, and I think it's like was it Western Electric that was here?
Yeah, well, it was.
Or was it General? No, it was Western Electric.
Yes.
Long time ago. When they first decided to open up here, they literally had to make Shreveport integrate before they would come in.
Well, that was with a lot of business, believe it or not.
Right, but they were one of the first that said, we're not coming there if you don't. Now, we're however many years, decades since then, and I've been told that a lot of major industries may come in and tour Shreveport, and they're thinking about locating here. One thing that they don't like is all the litter. There's no pride in this community. But the other thing is the way we treat the most vulnerable people. And I'm not talking about homelessness. I'm literally talking about the poorest zip codes. So if you go to 71103, 09, 07, 06, and you look around, if you've got a neighborhood that's modest homes, but some of them are falling apart, heck, Highlands, how many dilapidated houses are over there that we're trying to deal with?
Sure.
But not just that, but if you've got like houses in Moortown and you've got people dumping tires and it never gets cleaned up, and you can see that we are literally letting the people who would be taking the jobs on this industry is bringing $12, $15 an hour. They're like, if this is the best a person can do, if we're paying them, if they're on salary with us, we're going to take our business elsewhere. It's literally the same bigotry that made Western Union have to say, or General, whatever made them say in the first place, we need y'all to integrate before we come in. Those ghosts are still hovering over everything. The bigotry is still here. The reasons people don't want to come here all come down to the fact that we are so hell-bent on oppressing as many people as we can here, as long as a few people feel comfortable.
Well, I do believe that to a degree, but I also, and this is personally, because I was actually in a meeting that I didn't supposed to be in. I was actually working behind a door, and I was just so happened to be listening. And I heard a public official actually tell a company, and I'll say this now, that I can make this deal go through, but what's in it for me? And when I heard it, I almost was like, I don't believe I'm hearing this. And I'm like, do I know what it was crazy.
And here's the thing. That has probably gone on in Shreveport for at least a couple of generations, right?
Yes.
I'm not going to call anybody out because I can't prove any of it. I don't know what's what when it comes to like the lay of the land back in the 70s, 80s, 90s on this stuff. But everyone and their friends have always had these opportunities to benefit. And what's happened is, I think that you've had some leadership, black leadership, that have said, well, if it was good enough when y'all did it, why isn't it good enough when we do it? And oppression, is that the word I said? When you take on the language of the oppressor, now you're the oppressor. It's still the language of the oppressor, it doesn't matter who's doing it. We didn't elect you to come in and do the same thing they were doing. It's not okay.
That's true.
And I think that's another big part of what's keeping us out. I've heard stories like that about like maybe in the last 10 years of major car dealers or major car manufacturers trying to come in,
That's true.
sitting down with public elected officials that
That's
are
true.
saying, well, what's in it for me?
Well, I've been calling them out for a minute now. And I won't speak of any names. I just throw it out to every one of them. And you know, because everybody play a role in trying to get things better in the city. And I think that when you're elected to an area or to a seat, it's your job to step up and try to do things to better the city.
Yeah.
When your term is over, the city should be in a better situation.
Leave it better than you found it.
Exactly.
For sure.
And that goes all the way up to the mayor. I've heard, well, we'll see if it comes to fruition, but I've heard of a company that's trying to do some multi-billion-dollar business in Shreveport, Louisiana. They want to do business here. Didn't want anything but clear, clean business. And the deal has never been presented to anyone.
Wow.
And they're going to end up doing the business in North Louisiana. And it won't be in Shreveport.
It'll end up being in Monroe.
They're going to be in North Louisiana, but it's not going to be in Shreveport. Now, the thing is this is going to bring thousands and thousands of jobs to North Louisiana.
They've never talked to me about it, whoever they are.
Well, this is one of the things, and I know several councilmen and some commissioners knew about it and everything. And the mayor even knew about it. I'll call them out. My thing about it is this. When you want growth in the city, every idea is a good idea until we find some holes in it where it doesn't make sense.
Until you find holes in it where it doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
And I'm your huckleberry for finding the holes.
And that's the thing. You should have people on board that's going to do that. That's going to look into this stuff and make sure that it's solid.
Now here's something, the other side of the coin when there's the what's in it for me, the other side of that coin is sometimes like this weird generalized pettiness of Shreveport where so-and-so doesn't want it to happen because so-and-so is going to benefit.
That's true.
And I want to say that if it's a clean deal, if it's an ethical deal, and you're not doing anything under the table, I don't care who benefits if it's going to benefit the city. If the major benefit is going to be to the city, cool. Now, if there's underhanded, nasty stuff going on, that's another story.
That's true.
But if a person over here, if their problem with it is that Cousin Kenny is going to make some money off of it. Well, if Cousin Kenny is going to stay in Shreveport and spend that money, then why am I going to have a problem with that?
That's true.
You know?
And also, I think about it this way. If it's built in district whatever, and we'll say 400 of the employees live in this district, then it's benefiting your district, right? So even though the construction or the plan is not actually in your district, it's still going to benefit your district.
We all win. We all win if it's in the city and it's revenue for the city. We all win.
That's true.
Now I do, from a planning standpoint, want to see more things in the core. Like I don't want to see things happening on the edge of the loop. I want to see things happening on the inside of the loop, in the tight part of the loop, like where my district is mostly the core. I want to see opportunities for people to live, work, and play in downtown Highland, Queensboro, Anderson Island, Stoner Hill, you name it. But because if we don't have that, we don't have a city, we have a donut.
That's true. But that goes back to being involved in the community and having a post on the community.
Yeah.
A lot of times, if I'm only on this street and that street, those are the only things I know about. But those other 10, 20 streets are a little rough. I might not go over there as much.
Right.
I don't have no really voice over there, so I really just don't deal with it. But yet still, they need the attention too.
They need more attention.
Exactly.
And see, that's, for me, what's wild is having probably the most diverse district racially and socioeconomically. You have a lot of squeaky wheels in each part of the district, but you have some that have no idea what's happening in the other part of the district where people are really suffering. Like, I'll take something kind of serious but benign. Sidewalks. I have a guy who I really like. This family is not from here. They've chosen to be in Highland. She's an academic. He's a tech guy, I think. Super smart. His number one issue is like, this neighborhood would be great if the sidewalks were good, but I can't make it 2 blocks on sidewalk. And I want to be like, well, dude, I want to take you over to Hollywood where I have areas that don't have sidewalks, never have. Like they literally have open drainage ditches like you're out in the country or something. Like it's kind of hard for me to talk about your sidewalks where you actually have sidewalks that need to be repaired, and I've got areas that have never seen a sidewalk, especially when those are the areas where people are more likely to not have a car.
That's true.
You know,
That's true.
like if you don't have a car, back to what I was saying about every neighborhood deserving to have a chance at some vibrancy. If I'm walking more because I don't have a car, don't I deserve a sidewalk? Like shouldn't it be easy for me to at least get to the bus stop if that's what I'm going to do?